Unbossed, unbothered, unbossed, unbothered. The Sisterhood Radio. Yo, what's poppin', Philly? It's your boy Warbucks. Checking out the Sisterhood Radio podcast with LaRock and Lady Bex. Strong, independent, educated black woman. Yeah, dig. Huh?
Sisterhood Radio, unbossed and unbothered with LaRock and Lady Bex.
Hello, welcome. This is the Sisterhood Radio, y'all. Lady Bex, where you at? Hey! Welcome, everybody. This is the Sisterhood Radio. My name is LaRock Lewis.
And this is Lady Bex.
And we are the Sisterhood Radio. Hey! Here we go. And we are unbossed and unbothered. We're here to inspire, empower, and uplift Black women and culture. And we are happy to be here on this rainy Friday, but we're still blessed, everybody. Bex, how you doing?
I am good. Is it raining outside?
It's pouring outside, yes.
Oh, no. Y'all made me turn my curtains down so I can't see,
It's pouring outside. I'm so happy that we have this opportunity to talk today and that people are going to be seeing us live from four different platforms. And we're going to definitely welcome our guest today. Her name is Terri Coaxum. We're going to bring her in right now. She's warming up. There she goes.
Hello.
Welcome.
Good
to see you.
It's a pleasure.
I'm so happy that you are here to join us on this show where we are here to empower Black women and culture, and this has been a heavy week. It's been a heavy week. And so, Lady Bex, I don't know about you, but this has been a very heavy week for me personally. The news has definitely, what's going on has definitely changed my life, right? I think it changed everyone's life with what we've been through this whole entire week. Although we still try to be positive, we still try to see our blessings and what's going on. But it has us to remember and to be strong, And so I know I definitely learned a lot this week, even with my emotional self. And I know I'm usually emotional. People are probably laughing at me. But it was really weighed heavy on me. And I've sensed from, the Facebook community, my Facebook fam, I call them, that it's weighing heavy on them. And I'm talking about the Black community. So we want to just give this show for people who are listening right now on Facebook and or tuning into the Sisterhood Network on YouTube. Once we do upload it, that they're able to comment and share what their feelings. I'm opening up to everyone. I usually just focus on Black women, Terri.
Yes.
But I feel like the Black men they've been having a hard time as well. So how's your week going? Like, tell me, how's everyone's week going?
So my week's been crazy. I supervise a lot of minorities, that work within the Department of Education. So people of color, and it's always difficult when you are working for a leader that might not look like you, right? So it's really, you have those difficult conversations with people. So for me, it's always with my whole week, just trying to really encourage my staff to stay connected, encourage myself. It was really difficult throughout the week living with 3 men, right? As you know, LaRock, and my line sister over there. I have 2 older boys. One is just turned 25, and my second son turned 21. And my husband, he's out there, he's an essential worker, getting up every day to go to work. So I'll always have the fear of, I turned off the television, I turned off the news, so that when I can give myself a mental check, because it's looking at all the Facebook, the negativity that was going on, all of the negative. And so there were some positive things that was going on too, because you had a lot of people who were out there protesting for good things. Then we had some people who, unfortunately, sometimes we fall into a situation where, some life just happens, right? Where people just start to do negative things. But overall, my my biggest thing that happened on, so yesterday was actually observing and seeing the memorial and how so many of our people stuck together. And what I realized, or what I noticed, is that so many, the media showed all of the negative stuff, but didn't show all of the positive things that was happening throughout the world with our Black brothers and sisters that were getting together and standing up for what was right.
Right. And Black people are tenacious people. I mean, look at our
Absolutely.
history and look how we sit together in the civil rights movement and beyond, and we continue to stand together. We come from kings and queens, and so it is of us to do what we are to do, especially in times like this. And so I agree, this week was truly a heavy week.
Definitely.
And one thing that Lady Beck, you said, is something that I would encourage everyone to do, to take a physical break, to take an emotional break, to step back from all the negative surroundings and to give yourself something positive to focus on, like life, like just being here. I mean, we've been in quarantine for how long? Since March. So just the mere fact that we're here and that we're alive and we're healthy and our families are healthy is something for us to, take a few minutes and really meditate on that. And so it's been a heavy week for me as well. I'm encouraged by this podcast. I'm encouraged to be here. I'm encouraged that I'm with my sister girls and the Sistahood Radio.
That makes us feel great. And we're happy you are here.
Exactly.
And I heard so many good things about you. And you know what? Let's learn more about you, Lady Bex. Tell us more about this wonderful woman, that is on our show today.
I definitely will. Lamak just caught me off guard. Like trying to relax, like looking at the Sistahood shirt, like, let me. So tell me a little bit about my AKA line sister who we share rooms with all the time. So Terri Coaxum, right? Say your name correct?
Coaxum. You coaxing them.
Is the CEO and founder of Coaxum Connects LLC, a strategic management consulting firm. She's an economic advisor, distinguished lecturer, motivational speaker, author, life coach, and mentor. Under President Obama's administration, she was the Regional 2 advocate for the Office of Advocacy, U.S. SBA, with oversight of New York City and New Jersey. We always go back and forth about New Jersey and New York, Rock.
New Jersey has 21 counties and New York has 62.
Let me tell you. But you know what?
Say no more.
You know what? Let me say, everybody always wants to come to Jersey. Let me tell you that right now.
And Jersey is a wonderful place.
There you go.
Wonderful place.
A little bit more, about Ms. Coaxum. She's an advocate for small business, providing a voice and ensuring their concerns with proposed federal regulations are heard and considered. So I'm just we're gonna go to you, right? So you have a lot, that you can speak to us about yourself.
Absolutely. You left off two parts of my region. Region 2 also covered Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. So we'll make sure we know Region 2 is New York, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. And so, I mean, I'm here to really just radiate off of you beautiful ladies, because the Sistahood Radio is about inspiring, empowering, uplifting Black women in culture.
Absolutely.
And so, I thought it would be an excellent opportunity just to come on, especially with a week like the one we've had, and just encourage and inspire through some of the things that I've done. As the Region 2 advocate for Small Business Administration, I had an awesome opportunity to go throughout the country, speaking to individuals about rules and regulations that truly changed their lives. And I was able to make some changes in that time, and it was truly a wonderful thing. In that, in the regions, we had 10 regions, and 7 of those regions were women. And so we always called ourselves the 7 Sisters, and we continue to stay in touch with each other. And so it's an awesome opportunity to work under the administration of President Obama, but it was even a better opportunity to meet the sisters that were part of the region, and the brothers too. We're not going to leave the brothers out.
No, of course not.
The sisters, we have a special bond. Prior to working in the SBA administration, Small Business Administration, I was the Deputy State Director for U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer.
Chuck.
And so working for Chuck, I was the first African-American woman to be the first African-American woman to be the deputy state director.
What?
And so I've been covering these 62 counties for a long
I love hearing stuff like that. I get excited. I love to hear the first. Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been covering these 62 counties for a long time. And then prior to that, I was administrative manager, and I did community relations with the Brooklyn District Attorney. So just think about this. Brooklyn is 69 square miles, 2.6 million people, 250 dialects, and a lot of diversity. And so, seeing this week, seeing individuals at the Barclays Center coming together, seeing Chief Madry go on one knee, seeing, the Black and brown people and white people all stand together to say, we stand against this injustice, was just phenomenal. And so, like you said, Lady Beck, we see a lot of negative, and you as well, LaRock, we see the positive in this as well. And we can go back to the civil rights movement and see how we all came together then, and how we will continue to be a people that will grow beyond anyone's expectations, because we will not sit in anybody else in anybody's box.
Right.
We are who we are because of who we came from. And I'll go back to kings and queens. So that's a little bit about my history. I'm also an author. So I wrote Peaceful Pondering, and it's a busy woman's guide to inner peace. And so we're going to talk a little bit about it. I've got some special notes in here that I want to share with you guys. And we'll talk about that. And I'm also an instructor. So I teach at Medgar Evers College. I also teach at John Jay College and Metropolitan College of New York. And just a little bit of background, I'm an educator. It's what I do. And I love to encourage and inspire young people to be the best that they can be, to motivate them to give them a recommendation letter, to help them get a job, to give them opportunities that they just wouldn't have access to. And I love to say, I just want to die empty. Like everything that God has poured into me, I want to pour it back into others.
Excellent.
And so that's why I'm here. That's why.
And we definitely love that, because we're all about motivating. There's one thing that was on your bio that I wanted to mention. It said that you were a wellness coach, right? And so right now, with all what's going on, we kind of need to have some self-care and what to do. And I know when Ahmaud he was murdered, and everyone saw that on TV. I say that a lot of mothers felt that trauma, right? Because we saw the trauma in his mom's face, her voice when she went and started interviewing. So we all felt that. And we are deaf. And now the world has felt that grieving and that mourning of George Floyd. And so if we're all still working, what can we do now that we are all collectively mourning?
That's right.
Mourning this man. We're mourning as mothers vicariously trauma. And so what can we do now that we're all kind of going through this?
And so the first thing I'm going to say is it's okay not to be okay. And a lot of times, I grew up in the South. I was born and raised in South Carolina. I came to New York City at 16 years old with a box of vanilla wafers, the clothes on my back, and an idea that I was going to go to John Jay College. It was the first in my family to graduate from high school. And my grandmother used to always say, pray about it. Pray about it. Yes, pray about it. But if you need a doctor, call a doctor. If you have to take a pill, take a pill.
Word up.
Do not just leave yourself and my grandmother used to say, I'm from South, wallering in it. Don't leave yourself in it.
Yes.
Wallering in it. So what do you do?
About that girl.
Exactly. First thing you have to do is admit that you're not okay.
Right.
And if you need to seek professional help, whether it's a therapist, psychiatrist, whether it's a yoga class, we're quarantined now, but I turn on YouTube all the time. One of my biggest mental health breaks now, and I told you a little bit about this, LaRock. When I'm feeling overwhelmed, I dance. I love to dance.
I love it.
So I take my physical break. I turn on YouTube. I go to Island Girl Reggae. Workout.
Oh, can we get those horns again?
Those horns, powerhouse, and those horns at.
Okay.
We love it.
I get it in. So I take a physical break. I take an emotional break. I turn off the TV. I don't continue to listen to all of the noise, because it becomes noise after a while. So I turn off the TV. I call a friend. It's okay. It's okay to call a friend and say, listen, sis, I'm not okay.
Right.
And you'll be so surprised at how many of us that are not okay, that are dying inside and refuse to admit that you're not okay.
Exactly. We definitely understand that. On the Sistahood Radio, we have something called Checking on Your Strong Friend. And you'll see me post sometimes on Instagram and on Facebook, checking on your strong friend. Now it's time. It's 9 o'clock. And it's something we've been doing constantly. Even before all this happened, that was always something that I wanted to promote, is call your strong friend, because they always think, oh, she got it together. She got it together. And that is not true.
No,
it's not true at all. You always need to, even strong women need their hands held too, as I always say. And so
those are the ones who mostly need it the most.
Right.
Yeah, they're the other ones.
Because they don't say anything. Like, they sit there and
they're
like,
silent. They're suffering in silence. Right.
Exactly.
Hands up.
5 hands up and 2 feet.
That's me.
If people don't, you're the ones who are the encouragers, the uplifters, but then who's checking on you? You know what I mean? So you gotta, let's, again, LaRock put that out there on social media all the time. I use it at work too. You know what I mean? I say checking on your strong staff members. Because you never know what's going on, and the ones who are silent are the ones who I really check on the most. You know what I mean? Even if that's like putting up a purple heart or telling me the color of the heart that you're feeling right now, to get them to start talking. And those are the ones who I check in on all the time.
Right. And I do wellness checks. I do wellness checks on WhatsApp. I make phone calls. I'll send little videos, laughing, joking, just to let them know that they're not alone. One of the other things that we do as women, especially, is we pray. We pray when we go through it. We find scripture. And I encourage you, especially now that we're home and we're doing a lot more reading, find the scriptures that uplift you. God said that I will protect your going out and your coming in. He said, touch not my anointed. He said that we are his children. Those are all scriptures. He said, be not anxious and bury his word in your heart. And so if you're not anxious and you're burying his word in your heart, he got you. No matter what you're going through, that God has you. And so I encourage you to do a few things. I have a calendar in my room, and it motivates me. And let me tell you why. I have a 9-year-old grandson. It's the love of my life. That's my dude. His name is also Terri, and he was born on August 24th. So he's also a Virgo. So when he was learning his colors, I know, right? And I'm riding him around in the car. He says, Gigi, because I'm gorgeous grandma. He does not throw me.
Okay.
Gigi. He said, what color is that? And I said the color. He said, very good. And he said, well, what is that? I said, red. Well, what does it mean? And I told him, and he said, very good. I got to the third color, did the same thing. He said, very good. I'm going to give you a sticker. And he gave me a sticker. And so I took the sticker and I just put it on the dashboard and I left it there. Well, lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, I'm in New York traffic and folk are bobbing and weaving and cutting me off, and I'm about to have some explicits, and I'm about to down the window, and I look over and I see the sticker. It immediately brought a smile to my face. It immediately reminded me that he loved me, right? Beautiful. So my thing is, find something that inspires and encourages you, whether it's a sticker, whether it's a picture of the children, a picture of the dog, some gorgeous man or woman, whatever it is that inspires you, put it in a place where you can actually take a look at it. So what I started doing in my wellness, in my fitness, I wanted to lose some weight. So what I did is bought a big calendar from Staples, huge wall calendar, almost the size of the wall. And I put it up on my wall. And every morning when I got up to go to the Bethel YMCA, I gave myself a star. So 3 days in, I was like, it's raining, it's cold, I'm not going outside. And I looked over at my star, I was like, hold up, I gotta get my star for the day. Gotta get my star. And I got up and went. 7 stars in, I was on a roll. Right. You couldn't tell me not to go to the gym, because at 5:30 in the morning, I was gonna be in that gym. Right. So from 5 o'clock, I wake up at 4:30 every morning. From 4:30 to 5, I meditate. From 5 to 5:30, I'm on a prayer call with the Daughters of Zion. From 5:30 to 7, I was at the Bethel YMCA gym, and then my day starts. Why did I do it that way? Because I take my time at the top of the day. Because once your day starts, everyone has an opportunity to pull on you. Right. And I don't want you to take my time from me. I need all my time. Right. Because I do so much for others. You have to find that space for yourself. And even in these COVID times, even in quarantine, even in mourning, because like you said, we're facing trauma. We're all going through it. We saw this man die. We saw the foot on his neck for 9 minutes. We heard him say he could not breathe. So how do we deal with that as a people?
Mm-hmm.
You have to take the time to mourn. You have to take the time.
And I know there's a lot of women listening to this right now, a lot of people listening to this right now. And I hope we were all just taking that in and taking those steps. Because I feel like we have a setback. You know, we just got over, not really got over, but we just got into a routine with staying inside and the quarantined and the COVID-19. And we have felt a bit of joy noticing that the numbers have dropped down.
Right.
And then this happens. And I know personally, and then, you know, I actually shared on Facebook last night that my sleeping pattern is off again, right? And I was taking those steps, like you said, you know, you were getting up early in the morning, you were exercising, and you start like getting through your day, right? Even though we're quarantined inside, we still have our list of things we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then this happened, and it kind of had a setback. Unfortunate for me is that I make myself completely busy so I wouldn't have to think about certain things. And I know that's not good. So, so tell us, share with us, you know, okay, how do we start from scratch again? Like, what should we do when we lose that momentum that we once have and then we get hit hard with this type of,
this type of situation?
Yeah.
So the first thing, first of all, you need sleep, right? Because if you don't sleep, you can't restore. Your body can't restore. If your body can't restore, and it's not just even the physical. I'm talking about the emotional. I'm talking about things you can't see happening. Because if you're not resting and your liver and your kidneys are not able to do what they do when you're at rest to make sure that your whole body is flushing out and all that. So by not doing that, you're not giving your body an opportunity to work to its full potential. So how do you deal with it? First of all, again, I'm a strong believer in acknowledgement, because that's another thing that my parents used to say, oh, children supposed to be seen and not heard. Don't talk about my business. The house, whatever happened in the house, stay in the house. And, you know, like just all of these things that made you keep things inside, and it built up to the point until they exploded and then nobody can put them back in, right? So the first thing I encourage you to do is to look at your day and understand something. Everybody has the same 24 hours in their day. We can buy any and everything else. We cannot buy our time back.
Sure.
Facts.
Yeah, 100%.
So we need to figure out in your day, what are some things that you can do? And for you personally, you got to start coming down at a certain time. So you're keeping yourself busy to not think about things.
Around the clock.
At what time do you stop? 9 o'clock? You should start coming down at 7:30, 8 o'clock then, because you have to give yourself time to come down. So whether that is a hot shower, a hot bath, maybe that's a diffuser with some aromatherapy, some lavender, you know, something to kind of bring you down, right? Some peppermint, eucalyptus, right? Maybe it's that. Maybe you'll take a little bit of the peppermint and the eucalyptus at a certain time when you start coming down and you're playing your gentle music in the background. For me, I like to hear the rain. So I'll start playing the rain. You take a little and put it behind your earlobes. You take a little and you put it, you know, someplace near your nose so that you can smell it. And then you start coming down. Give yourself a routine.
Yeah. I think so many people now are starting to get that back, right?
Yeah.
Because I know with me, like, again, like LaRock, you're running all the time, like taking care of the kids, you're working, you're doing this and you're doing that. But with quarantine, it allows you to stop, right? To really stop and say, you know what? You're spending more time with your family. You're checking in on yourself. For me, I'm like, I shut my computers down now at 5 o'clock. Whereas before, I was on the computers 11, 12 o'clock at night. Working, doing work. And I'm like, you know what? Enough is enough. Like, this work from home stuff is not for me. So big up to people who work from home.
It's not for me.
But I know it has taught me how to buy myself
set
back
boundaries.
time.
It taught you how to set boundaries.
It sure has. Because Lady Bex did not have those boundaries. I would come home and I was up all night long, and I would go on trips with my husband, and I'm literally on the computer like, I gotta check this email. I gotta do this. So this has really checked me. Like, it said, oh no, you need to chill, Miss Lady.
Let me tell you something. If God sends me a husband, trust and believe, I'm not gonna be on nobody's laptop. Okay?
Speak it.
Oh, yeah, I will not.
That's it.
Talk about second time around.
One of the other things I want to say, though, write it down, because a lot of times we go through things, right? And sometimes have you ever found yourself aggravated or upset or anxious about something and you can't quite put your finger on it, you don't quite know what it is, because it's not what just happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've been in a car and you know, you're doing your thing, and then somebody cut you off and you already ready to have a little words with them, but you realize you got up late this morning because you decided to take 10 extra minutes instead of getting up on time. Right. So you got up late this morning, you got out of the house late, which is making you late, which is why you're rushing, which is what the real problem is, and not the person that just went in front of you.
Exactly.
Right. And then
we have to
get short-tempered.
assess. You have to assess what really is causing you to have that anxiety, or causing you to be in that dark place, or just quite frankly is causing you to feel overwhelmed. So once you assess it, they always say, the Bible says, have a vision, make it plain, write it down, right? So if whatever that is, you write it down. And once you're able to write it down and you're able to acknowledge it, then you're able to put in a plan to get through it, because faith without works is dead. So you can't come take it and say, well, I'm just going to pray about it and I'm going to leave it. No, because God said faith without works is not dead. So if you're not putting in work to change it, it's going to remain the same.
Wow.
You can have faith, but you still got to work.
Facts.
So write it down. So that way, whatever's making you anxious, you already know. And the people that are making you anxious, whatever it is, you have to decide how you're gonna deal with it. And no is a complete answer, and it doesn't need an explanation. As women, will say, you know what, I'm feeling a ways. I really don't want to go to my friend's house tonight. I really just want to sit and watch something funny on TV, eat some popcorn, and journal. But that person is saying, oh, you know, I haven't seen you in a while. We're out of quarantine now. Once you come through, and then you get out of what you're doing for yourself and you go do something for someone else. And then later you're up all night trying to get it done. No is a complete answer. And I don't have to explain. No, because I got to pick up the kids. No is no. I don't need no explanation. It's
have
no.
To learn that.
Please.
Have to learn how to say no.
I think we all have to learn that. But all those things you mentioned is something that we all can learn from. We all should start. And I know there's a lot of people who are watching and they tell me, actually, like, you know, that was a good point. You made so many different points there that I'm already aligning in my head what I need to do. No, I'm serious. Like, I'm like, well, I need to do that again. And usually I'm that type of person, but I think what happened in the past 2 weeks has really like affected me, you know, and like affected everybody. But, you know, I want to talk about, because you said something that you worked with the Obama administration. And that sounds beautiful.
Number 44, can we get that?
I know. Yes, it just sounds so beautiful. And you also saying that you work with women there. How diverse was his, like, you know, administration when you worked there? You know, how diverse was it? Like, you know, was it a lot of women that he had?
So first of all, I worked in New York City. So I worked at 26 Federal Plaza. And so a lot of the administration, when we are appointed to these positions and we are in these positions, we come in with our staff already. So when we came in, and there was a lot of women on the team at Small Business Administration. They were some women of color on the team. Well, actually, they were most women of color on the team, but they've been there for a long time. Like, one of my assistants that started at 17 and she was in her 60s. And so that was like family. That was kind of like home to them. Everyone was very, you know, appreciative and gracious, and they wanted to help. That was really good. When you go to my office, when I went to the Virgin Islands, of course, it was all women of color. When I went to the office in Puerto Rico, again, it was all people of color. And so the individuals that I had to work with and work throughout, and even throughout the state of New York and New Jersey, I worked with a lot of diversity. And I was able to do that because, like I said, I worked with Chuck Schumer, and everybody knows, like, he's one of the hardest working people in politics. And he's that way because he's out there in the front of the issues, right? So one of the things that I always had in my heart, Marty Markowitz said to me when I first started in politics, he said, the people that you help may remember. The people that you don't help will never forget. So what does that mean? You're only as good as your last favor.
Exactly.
So when someone came to us, especially in Chuck's office, they were already at their wits' end. They saw him on that Sunday press conference. They thought he had a magic wand, and they was calling up because they needed you to come through on their issue. And it wasn't a federal issue. It was a city issue. It was a state issue. It was something to do with a public-private partnership. But because I always keep that in my heart, I found the person that they needed to talk to. And I always said up front, I was very honest, this is not my area of expertise. This is not what we do in this office. However, let me see what I can do to get you to the right person. Because at that point, they're already at their wits' end. They're calling him because they don't know who else to call. So let me use my resources to call who you need. The same thing in the administration when I worked for SBA. There were businesses that, you know, they were at their wits' end. And I would make sure I call the agencies. I would make sure that I call if it was a public-private partnership. I even called Verizon one time for a small business, just because they didn't know how to navigate the system the way that I knew how to navigate the system. And guess what? We got relief. And so it was very diverse. It was a lot of women. We have very little men, actually. It was a lot of men, a lot of women in the administration, and it was a great time had by all. When we would all come together from the different agencies, we really had a good time. And then past that, we have a group, like all of us have our own individual groups. We have Guyanese 44, we have, you know, Black 44, Asian 44. Our Black 44 group is the truth. These are the top leaders in our country. We are doing the damn thing. And so basically we tap into each other. We have our Google group, we have our email group, and we reach out to each other when we need whatever it is that we need, and we get back to each other. And I'm telling you, that network is sick. The same thing with Chuck Schumer's office. People always say, yo, Chuck Schumer, he really brings the team. You know, I can give you an example. My intern when I was working in Chuck Schumer's office, his name is Victor Pichardo. He's assembly member, Victor Pichardo, in the Bronx now. Cusick, Mike Cusick, he's a assemblyman from Staten Island. He used to work in Chuck's office. I know that you guys have heard of Preet Bharara, who's the U.S. attorney that gave Trump a hard time. He was the counsel in our office. You've heard of Dave, well, you may not have heard of Dave Hantman, but Dave Hantman was a VP over at Airbnb. Like these individuals, they're in either leadership because they're elected. One of the individuals was Phil Goldfeder, who came out of Far Rockaway, and he went on from being one of our leaders in the Jewish community in Chuck's office with the Jewish constituents and with everything with rules and regulations. He went on to become assembly member, Phil Goldfeder, and then from assembly member, now he's a VP at one of the top banks. So I say that to you to say that any of those individuals we can reach out to, because that's the family we built around the organization.
Right,
when
I was about to say that.
When you're working for someone on that level, we're a team. There is no I in team.
And what you just said about all that diversity, and I think about what the administration looks like now. And I'm saying that you're telling me that there are Jewish people working together, with Black people working together, with the Asian community working together. And you were glowing when you said that, because it was power and all that. And now, under the administration that we're under here, that we're all suffering from.
Exactly.
Definitely there needs to be a change, which leads you right into it.
Right.
What do we need to do for it to change?
Vote and fill out the census. There is two things that we must do without fair contradiction. One, make sure we're filling out that census. There's vital resources that we will miss out on if we are not filling out the census. You have to fill out the census. The infrastructure dollars, the dollars for health and hospitals, the dollars for education, the dollars for mostly anything and everything that you can think of is coming from that census. Those are numbers. If you're not filling out that census, you're losing seats. The last census, we lost 2 seats, 2 congressional seats, one upstate New York and one downstate. We cannot afford to lose dollars, especially with the economic disparity that's going on. Especially with it, we do not just economic. What about the educational disparity? What about the digital divide? We gave individuals, we said, okay, we got to pause education. So you are no longer able to go to school. We're going to give you a tablet. Guess what? I don't have internet. How am I going to access the work on this tablet? That is a true digital divide, right?
Exactly.
And some people weren't even given tablets. Then we have this whole Common Core curriculum. Pause.
Let's not go with that. I'm an educator.
That our parents are not as familiar with, but you're asked to now educate your students at home, so you're getting a little frustrated. So that goes back
And it's
to that whole health and wellness piece. So we have to vote. We don't have a choice but to vote. People died for the right for us to vote. The presidential primary, our primary for New York is on June the 23rd. I encourage you, I implore you, I beg you, please vote, because that's how we make a change in any administration. And all politics is local, every bit of it. So we're talking about the president, but guess what? We have to send the Congress. There's 3 branches of this government. If we're not voting for our House of Representatives and our senators, and we're not voting for our judges, then what we have is a dictatorship. We have to put the like-minded people in the right positions. The Yvette Clarks, the Hakeem Jeffries, the Oscar Stewart Cousins, the Carl Hasties, the Kevin Parkers, you know, the Jamani Williams, the Tish James, and I can go on and on. But if we're not voting,
it is important to tell children, our adult children, important to vote. You know, I feel like the disparity is not with our age group. I think it's younger that we could bring them up, right? Lady Jackson, you want to say something?
Yeah. What do you think folks understand what the census is? Right? Because we always talk about it so much, and then, you know, they mail it in the mail, they call you on the phone, they email you. Do you really think that folks in our communities really know what it is? And how can we make sure that we are hitting or connecting with the correct people to make sure that we are expressing this throughout our communities?
Okay, so there's a few things. The first question, do I think people know what the census is? I believe that some of us don't think it matters. And I think that's anything. Some people you'll talk to and they'll say they've never voted, but they have a lot of opinion about everything. So I think that's number one, right? So I think that it is our duty as individuals that understand that the census does matter, whether it's our clergy members, our educators, whether it's somebody you sitting at the kitchen table with that you will believe if they tell you that this is important and essential to your well-being. Is it your doctor? Is it your sister girl? Whoever it is, those are the individuals that need to tell one, each one teach one. Those are the individuals that need to tell, listen, I need you to fill out the census. Let me tell you how I did it. I'm raising up Generation Z. We taking it to the whole next level, right? When I teach my American government class, the first thing I make my students do is to tell me every representative from the White House on down and what they're responsible for doing. I do not want not nary another person to call Chuck Schumer's office about a pothole. That is not a problem. So I need you to understand what each representative is supposed to be doing for you so you can require them to do it. That's number one. The second thing I ask them to do is to get involved. I tell them straight up, if you're not at the table, you are on the menu.
Right.
Just because you're not making decisions don't mean decisions are being made. They just being made for you. And you might be on the next plate.
Facts.
So I need you to get involved. I ask them about their precinct community council and their community boards and make sure that they understand what's going on in their neighborhoods, right? That's a way to get them involved. And this is everybody. Go to your senior centers, talk to your seniors, your young people especially. Listen, they can tell me the latest whatever is out there, right? So with that same voice, teach them why the census is important, and they will share with their friends.
That is so important, is that census. That is extremely important. And also you're talking about voting and knowing who is in your neighborhood to even vote for, or what is the meaning of their position. So voting on the local level is just as important as voting on
more important.
Exactly.
It's more important. Our politics is local. Look what happened. Look what happened to Crowley.
That's right.
He was a leader. He no longer elected.
And also, I was saying, here in Jersey, voting on the school board is very important, right? Voting in the school board, voting in our town council is very important. Many people don't even do that. And then we see one of my co-workers, she put out, I don't think it was her, but it was someone she put out and saw how many people in the area where I grew up, where most Black people were living, no one voted. See? It was all red spots, which meant that there was no voting. Nobody voted in that household. And that made me so angry. As much pressure as we're putting to vote, you see the person who's in the main office, first of all.
Right.
No one voted in our local election to put 3 other people on the council. And that was a disgrace So it's like
It is.
our job for people who are voters is to try to see why they're not voting and get them
That's
to
right.
vote. Because I want to know why. Why aren't you voting in these households right now?
Yeah.
You know who just
And
did a really good documentary on it, and they actually got an Emmy for it, the YWCA in Brooklyn. And I'll send it to you guys and you can share it with your network. The young ladies from the YWCA, from the programs, they actually walked the streets on election day and asked people why they didn't vote, and they gave answers. It was pretty powerful. It was a pretty powerful, shout out to my sister Rolanda who put it together. But they were really serious about why they weren't voting, and they gave answers. And that was really interesting. Now, the ones that voted were also equally as passionate about why they voted.
Yep. And that's key, right? Because we have all of these people go out and they count the amount of homeless people on the street, right? So that was key what you just said. Like, you don't really hear people going out knocking on doors, why didn't you vote? You know what I mean? It's like the House is happy that we're not voting. We talk about, so I know when I was in high school, they talked about voting. You know what I mean? They're not doing it as much. I mean, they don't do it at all. You know, at all, and talk about that, or even talk about it as early as 5 years old. I think this is something that we have to instill our children to know why is it important to vote. And like, I know my kids, I talk about it all the time. You know what I mean? The minute they turn 18, we out there.
No,
you know
we out there before that. Well, honey, let me tell you, one embarrassed me though, the youngest one. So I always took them to the polls. Even take the baby, he's 20 months. He go to the polls too. And I showed him the importance of the polls. The little one started reading, God bless. And so we were on the streets one day and she saw one of my friends that's an elected official. And she said, we voted for you today. I was like, well, what if we did?
But is voting that private though? Because I always notice people are kind of hush-hushing who they vote for. Is it really a private thing? Is it?
Well, yeah. Well, put it like this, right? Just because I'm friends with you, I may not agree with your policies or whatever. Right. And if I didn't vote, that could be an awkward situation.
A whole other level, right?
You are right about that. You are right about that.
That's a whole other argument.
Just because I love you don't mean I agree with you all the time.
Right.
So, it's one of those things. Me, I don't care. I let people know. I put it on my face. I'm voting for this person. I'm with her. I'm with him. I let them know. And I put my cards on the table and I'm square about it. Because I feel like if you're representing me, then I have to stand up for you, because you're not able to do what you do unless I'm there with you. The other thing about voting, though, that we really need to think about, and we really need to encourage and inspire not just our women. First of all, more women need to run, and we'll talk about that probably in another segment. But that's, they really
I love it.
Right?
Sorry.
But the other thing about it is your vote is your dollars, right? So think about it like this, and I'm not going to call the elected official name to protect the guilty, right? But I'm going to describe it like this. So there was a special place in Brooklyn, and one community, they received a museum and they got a whole bunch of other stuff, and so the Black and brown people in the community was very upset with this particular elected official, because they said, well, why he don't do so and so for us, and why didn't he do so and so for us? And I pulled the numbers. You didn't vote for him. They did. In fact, they came out in buses and voted for him. Yep. And so why would he use his capital now and it is needed, on things that's needed in your neighborhood, if you're not going to put him back in office to get it done for you? You don't think about that. You're busy thinking about the fact that this person's getting and that person's getting. Check out what they're doing. They're going to the polls. If I don't elect you, you can't do anything for me. So why wouldn't I go out there and vote for you? I'm sitting here saying my parks need this, my hospitals are closing, and I won't go vote. Make it make sense.
Right.
Yep.
And you put it out so well for us just right there. And hopefully people who are listening and do not vote, you'll see why things are not getting done in your community because you did not vote.
That's right.
And it's important that we do vote. Some such special things are coming up with the primaries. You want to talk about that? And the primary is the New York primary, correct?
Right. Right. So there is and so we're going to have and then I think you're going to invite her to come on the show. I have a wonderful sister. Her name is Glenda Carr, and I know you guys are going to invite her to come on the show, and she's going to talk about some of the initiatives that's going on before the primary, and so she'll outline that for you in specific detail, and she'll probably have some tools for you guys to share on your social media networks of the upcoming initiatives, and they'll be in all 5 boroughs. So she'll talk about that in more detail. But for me, I just want to encourage and inspire anyone that's listening today to please fill out your census. It's very important. We don't want any more hospitals closing. We want better schools. We want to bridge the digital divide with our children. And a way to do that is to make sure they're counting. So if we have a classroom of 30 people, but the census said we should only have 15, they're only given resources for 15.
Exactly.
So the other 15 are going to be without. And so it's very important for us to understand that these numbers matter, the census matters. So we got to get out there and tell someone, you know, did you get your card in the mail? It only takes 10 minutes to fill out these questions. No one's reporting your immigration status. They're not allowed to, you know, just make sure that there is an education piece that needs to happen, because a lot of people are very fearful.
I was about to say that,
because of the administration and the threat. So we have to make sure that they understand that this is not that. You know, you're not being reported. And so we have to get them to get out there and fill out the census. And more importantly, we have to get them to vote, not just in the primary. The primary is extremely important because you get to choose who's going to be in the general election. And the general election is also very important because you get to choose who's going to be your elected official. And so I need individuals to understand that both of those things, the primary that's here in June and the general election that's in November, it's important for them to get out the vote, especially the young people. And that's something that I talked about. One of my friends, she's the Eastern Regional Director of one of the organizations that I'm familiar with. And I spoke to her about, when I turn on my TV, I see power because I see all these young people. I see all these young people marching, and they're protesting, and they're peacefully. I'm like, look at the babies. Look at that. I'm so inspired by them. So this is a generation that we need to encourage and empower. My daughter went out and she protested. I was like, my baby got to protest. She got to protest. I know. God, keep my baby safe, you know. But I was so, it was something that she wanted to do. And she and her friends from Syracuse, they went and did it. And I was so inspired by that. And that's because of us, right? That's because of what they see us do. That's because of how they see us live our lives and how prepared we are to take things to the next level when we have to.
You have to be a good model.
That's right.
Yeah.
Did you happen to catch Obama.org, where he talked about just like Martin Luther King was a young person, you know what I mean? He wasn't an older person. So he put that out there. Like, you know, we need to look for those our Black brothers and sisters that are able to speak up and say that this is not okay, you know, and they're all young. He wasn't 60, 50 years, 55 years old. He was a young boy, you know, out there marching to make sure that we are out here and that we are present and our voices are being heard. You said something that I just want to go back to about the census and how there's a class of 30 students, but the census only give you funds for 15 because that's while, you know, is while our students are not being serviced. And it just made me think about just education as a whole. It's like, yeah, we have those classes and we always talk about, or we hear about budget cuts, but we don't really know where those budget cuts are coming from. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's because of the census, you know? It's going to affect or impact the classes. That's right. So now again, our kids are in remote learning. I talked about like, parents now have to become educators, where I always say like parents are always our first educators. They are. Day one, right? That's right. However, this was something that was unexpected. They didn't expect to be home with their children since March, trying to understand and teach them something that they didn't learn, teach them in a way that they didn't learn. So it's really difficult. So you do have a lot of families who are out here frustrated and yelling like, I was just forget this whole education part. Do they really mean that? They don't really mean it, but it's like, who's helping me? Again, you talked about those iPads that don't have internet on it. You know, you have some who have prepaid internet on it, as far as like Apple and T-Mobile, they donated like internet. However, they didn't think about the apartments that people are living in that's blocked, you know, block the internet from coming through. And then our kids are stressed out because they're like, oh, I'm not going to get promoted to the next grade because I wasn't engaged in my academics. However, did you ask me, can I even connect? So it's frustrating for parents, it's frustrating for children, and I know that it's frustrating for teachers, you know, what I mean? To know those things that they experience, and you know, and our social workers and our counselors, because we're trying to advise our parents, you know, to stay
and you're trying
calm.
to adapt. You're trying to adapt
mean?
too. You're trying
Stay
to adapt
connected, and it's hard. You know what I mean? And who do we complain to? You know, when we have a system that is saying we have to close schools because of Corona. You know, and this is the quick way we got to get our kids connected. Give everybody an iPad. It's like Oprah. Right. You get an iPad, but not really thinking about the effects of students who can't get connected, not thinking about those students who already lose 2 grade levels over the summer. So now I've been not connected in a school building with my teacher who was actively engaged with me in front of me. Now I go to like just giving out papers and uploading papers and not really being connected with my teachers. So
and not having that interaction.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's also the social interaction with the other children.
Yes.
It's the other children, they're not having a social interaction with their friends. Like my 9-year-old grandson is like, I'm over Corona.
Yeah, you know it's bad.
Join the rest of us.
Screaming out coronavirus, you know, running in the streets, and it's like, okay.
Right.
So, you know, it's and then now we want to go back when they open up schools, but how many of our kids are disengaged now?
They are.
Because they're not connected with their teachers and their friends. And it's like, you know what? School is not important. So how do we, as parents, continue to tell our children that school is important, you know?
And we do that, like you said, we do that by being involved, right? So I don't understand Common Core. That's not my way of learning. That's not how I learn math. I say 1 and 1 is 2. That's how I learn. I don't have to draw it out. I don't have to. Right. So that's right. So then you have to hold the student. And you said, who do we hold accountable? You make sure that the teachers and administrators understand. Okay, I need you to get us past this point. What do I need to know to be able to get little Johnny past this point? And then you give them incentives. You encourage them. You have to go back to the basics, right? Yes. I remember when my kids are 24 and 30. When I was raising my children, I used to have my children doing all kinds of things that they thought were their ideas. And that's okay. They were like, oh, you know, I'm in a pageant and I'm an A student and I'm reading 3 and, you know, I can speak 3 languages. I'm playing the trumpet. All their ideas. They were not. But I encouraged them and inspired them to believe that they were.
Exactly.
And so we go back to those basics. What is it that, and if my children told me they like to do something, then you have to train, right? So my daughter said, I want to play volleyball. I sent her to volleyball camp. We're not just going to be on these streets looking raggedy.
Exactly.
If you want to play volleyball, you're going to do it right.
That's right.
You know, she became the captain of her team. You know, so we have to hold the classroom, hold the teachers and the administrators responsible for the work that's coming home. My oldest daughter, she's good at that. She will call when Terry got my grandson, when he got disengaged, she was like, I'm done. She called up the teacher and said, well, check this out. Y'all gonna have to do something differently because Terry is in the top 3% of his class. Wow. They call him a math genius and he's disengaged. Can you imagine whoever else is disengaged?
Exactly.
Right. So what she started doing, she started Zooming with him every Thursday, walking through what he did the rest of the other part of the week and what he was going to do the next week, and then give him some kind of incentive to do it. But you have to hold them accountable because you know what? They're not in a classroom, but they can be in a Zoom setting. Right. The other thing that my youngest daughter, she works with Grand Street Settlement after school program. They do wellness checks. She started doing a fitness with Miss Carlet. So every other day they have a fitness class with Miss Carlet. Then one of the other instructors, they do an art class, and this is all via Zoom. You should see these students' faces. They are lit up.
No, yeah.
But you have to require it. Right. We, you know, ask for what you need. My mother always said, a closed mouth don't get fed. Okay, so if I'm frustrated, and I know that I can't take my kid to the next level because I'm not at that level. I'm holding the person that I voted for, the mayor of the city of New York, the governor of the city of New York, and the elected officials, the chancellor. I'm holding them responsible. And I'm requiring them to do what I need them to do, period, hands down. My child will not be left behind.
Absolutely. That's excellent. Let me tell you, everybody needs to go vote. You see how important your vote is? You see how she just said right there? You have to vote. You have to take your census. I don't know. Is there a due date for the census? Is there like an end date for
well,
that?
they actually extended it.
They did.
And so now, because they couldn't do the door-to-doors because of everything that's going on. So they actually extended it. And so I'm not clear on it when the due date is now because they extended it again. But what I will do, and I'll make a note to myself to give you the due date for the census.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, internet is a wonderful thing. I'm Googling it right now.
Googling it right
now. Everyone needs to know that. Everyone that hears the sound of our voices right now who's watching on Facebook, hello, everybody. Make sure your census are complete. Make sure you are registered to vote. Okay? I'll say it again. Make sure you're registered to vote and make sure you do it. You exercise that right that people died for. Okay?
That's right.
People look like me, look like her, look like her, look like our DJ. Make sure that you vote. It is very, very important.
It's critical.
I wanted to take one more word from you from your book, Peaceful Pondering. You said you had some inspiration things in there.
Yeah, I have a couple of nuggets.
So if you could share one of those things.
Again, this is the book, Peaceful Pondering.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The Busy Woman's Guide to Inner Peace.
Okay.
And so I want to go to chapter. So this is chapter 4, and it's my journey in new ways of living, right? Okay. And so one of the scriptures I like is, this is the day which the Lord hath made. Mm-hmm. We will rejoice and be glad in it. And it talks a little bit about my journey coming to New York, but it also talks about prioritizing, being honest with your situation, right? Mm-hmm. So it talks to you about, here is where I was, here is who I am, and I'm clear about that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be honest about what my capabilities are. I'm going to be honest about what my limitations are. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to prioritize my tasks, understanding that we all have the same 24 hours in a day. Mm-hmm. Understanding that I must put myself first and give myself permission to be first. A lot of times as women, we don't take our own permission. I'll tell my child, no, you must do X, Y, and Z. You tell your husband, yes, you must do X, Y, and Z. But then when it comes to us, we're like, yeah, I'm going to get to it. No. That is not what we're doing. So on page 15, I say, I started to pull back and honestly assess my situation. I started to prioritize my tasks, but be realistic in my goals and in my daily life. I allow myself to be a priority again. We have to allow ourselves to be a priority. And one of the other things that this book does is I give you journal exercises. So I encourage you to write it down. I told you write it down, make it plain, right? But write things down as they come to you. Sometimes you'll have the best idea and you think you're going to remember it, and then later on you don't. But if you write it down,
that is 100% true. And you can literally say it off your mouth, like, "Oh wait, what did I say again?
What I know was good."
That is the truth. Oh my God!
Write it down.
I also like the part, you give questions in your book to ask. So, again,
reflection,
book, but the reflection, so you can actually sit down and reflect on what's going on. So I know we talk about that on the show, just like journaling and Post-its, putting up Post-its. Like I journal, I use my phone for notes. And something happens, I literally jot it down. And we spoke to you like yesterday, and you was like, write it down. Like, so your thoughts become a book. You know what I mean? Everything that you think.
Content is capital. Content isn't king anymore. Content is capital.
That's right.
Content is capital. So if you're not writing down your thoughts and you're not relating it to something else, because whatever we do, and I tell my students when I teach business, I say, if it's convenient to you, right? We're coming up with ideas that are not just ideas. They're convenient for someone else, right? Right. So for instance, I had one student in Syracuse, they did a contest. This student created a boat that he can fold, put it in a bag, and take it on the plane. Now, at the time, I was an early grandmama, right? So I went, my daughter came and borrowed my car seat for the baby, and she took it because she had to get in the cab, and she took it. She said, I will leave it at the daycare. I get to the daycare, I have a baby in a bag, but I don't have a car seat. I had to leave the baby at the daycare and go purchase another car seat. Yeah. Because you can't take the baby in the car without a car seat.
No.
So I told a young man, I said, well, listen here. If you could create a boat that you can put on the water, do you know how much capital you'll be able to get if you can create a car seat you can fold and put in a bag? Just a thought. It's convenient for a lot of us.
Right.
If the baby's in the baby, you have the bag, you have the baby, you have the car seat.
That's
Here we
right.
go. Things
Wow.
like that can be $1 million ideas. And I said, I don't need no money from it. If you ever create it, just give me my credit.
Facts. Credit is very
Give me the
important
credit.
for people who are creatives.
That's what I don't
That's
know.
right.
It's very
It's my
important.
credit.
Yep.
Oh my
Right.
gosh.
So those are all things for us to think about. The other thing in the book, and Beck and Lady Beck was talking about, it's a plan. So you journal, you reflect, and you plan. And in every one of the chapters, you have something similar to that. The other thing that I wanted to just briefly touch on is finding your calm space. So in chapter 7, what is life like in your calm space? Your heart knows the way. Run in that direction. And that was by Rami. So my following the exercises and suggestions in the guide, I also gave them, different life will give you curveballs. It is what it is. Like I started today by saying I had a Murphy's Law day, but guess what? You accept those curveballs. And I always say, when life gives you lemon, you make lemonades. If it rains, play in the puddles. Play in the puddles. Put on your rain shoes and go out there and dance in the street. Do not let life get you down. Let it set you up, right? So accept life's curveballs and integrate them appropriately. One of the things that I say, there is no such thing is time management, because something's going to take priority over something else. And when that thing takes priority, you're going to drop that and go do what the priority is. It's called integration. You're integrating things into your life that are important at the time. Now, that doesn't say don't have a plan. Always have a plan.
Right.
But integrate those things. So, for instance, if my son or my daughter is sick and I have a big project due at work, I have to go get my kid.
Right.
That project will have to take a back seat to what I have to do with the family, because I'm that person, right? But those are the things that we don't do. If something comes up that is out of your control and causes needless worry, I'm able to meditate on it and let it go. You can't change it, let it go. Acknowledge it and let it go. You're holding on to it does not change it.
That comes with my unbossed and unbothered, and maybe that's why I need to be. I'm too bothered, so I need to be unbothered by listening to that. Miss Coaxum, that was amazing. I thank you for everything you gave. You dropped some serious jewels with us. You really did. I truly hope that people who are listening, we take this advisement from this queen, because she was just telling us everything we need to know about, first of all, making things a priority, setting a plan, guide, Peaceful Pondering. That's the name of her book. She has a whole wonderful accolades everywhere. We thank you so much for joining us on our show. We are definitely going to have you back. You know that. Definitely back. Before we go to Lady Beck and her quote.
The census, though. So the census was extended to July 2020. The census was extended to.
Okay. Oh, okay, good.
Sure,
we have one more month.
Census. Yep.
Everybody get out there and take the census and make sure you register to vote. Before we go to Lady Beck's in her quote, ending with a quote, we're going to say, so sorry I didn't do it in the beginning, but DJ Powerhouse is our DJ. DJ Powerhouse. Hi, Powerhouse. Thank you so much. He is the brother to the Sistahood, and I'm thanking him so much for just being with us through quarantine.
Exactly.
I appreciate that. So go ahead, Lady Bex.
Yes. So here is my wonderful quote. Black power simply means, look at me, I'm here. I have dignity. I have pride. I have roots. I insist. I demand that I participate in those decisions that affect my life and in the lives of my children. It means that I am somebody. So I'm going to repeat that again. That's by Whitney M. Young. I'm going to repeat it again. Black power simply means, look at me, I'm here. I have dignity. I have pride. I have roots. I insist. I demand that I participate in those decisions that affect my life and the lives of my children. It means that I am somebody. By Whitney M. Young.
Whitney Young. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ms. Coaxum. Everyone, DJ, everyone, thank you. Welcome who who are right here listening to the show. This is the Sistahood Radio. We are unbossed and unbothered. We're here to empower, inspire, and uplift Black women and culture. Make sure you tune in next week. We're having another wonderful guest when we're here to uplift and encourage. That's what we're here to do. Don't forget to go on to the Sistahood Radio Network right there on YouTube. You see this wonderful video and many, many others. Everyone give a good wave, because I always take a nice picture. And we want to say goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
See you later.